Good evening and welcome back to the kitchen. Hope everybody had a fantastic Christmas holiday. We certainly did. It was very festive. It was very busy. We did a little bit of traveling back and forth, LA, here. Christmas is always a lot of fun. You know, we've got teenage kids, so it makes it more fun. But and tonight we're going to do a special recipe for your New Year's Eve celebrations. I think you guys are going to like this one. It is, hello Colleen, good to see you. We're going to do a little pastry puff with some Gruyere cheese. Hey, Bill Senso. Some mushrooms and onions. We're caramelizing the onions. We're going to saute the mushrooms. We're going to mix all of that together. You're going to love this one. Hello there, K.E. Good to see you. All the pups are great. They had a lot of fun. They're slowly recovering. Hey, Janice, nice to see you tonight. In honor of the holidays, hey, Jan, Happy New Year. I whipped up a Black Manhattan, which is bourbon. Hello, Edie. Nice to see you. Bourbon and a little Averna, which is an Italian liqueur that's kind of herbally. There's a nice Luxardo cherry buried at the bottom of that and a little orange peel on top. So cheers. Hey, Richard Schillenberg. Good to see you. Oh, that's just the holiday in a glass right there. A little Black Manhattan. I learned that trick from Paul Bar. They're going to reopen on the 5th. All right, so for this, you're going to need some pastry puff. You can just go right down to your favorite grocery store and grab it out of the freezer section. Pepperidge Farms makes it, comes in a package with two beautiful pastry puff that you just roll out, cut them up into the size you want. We'll look at that in a second. You're gonna need a couple of onions. You're gonna need about, I'd say, 10, 12 ounces of mushrooms, depends on how mushroomy you like it. You're gonna need some Gruyere cheese shredded. We've got that right here. Some herbs, some fresh thyme. I'm gonna sprinkle my Italian herb grinder on that. You're also going to need a little balsamic vinegar, traditional flavor. I got that at All of a Sudden. All of a Sudden's a great store over in Waring Plaza. They have all these great infused olive oils and balsamic vinegars. So first thing we're going to do, and I've already started it because it's a little bit of a process, I'm caramelizing the onions. So let's go over and take a peek at that process, which is going pretty good thus far. There we go. There are the onions. Got them up to temperature. Just sauteed them in a little butter. Now what we're going to do to keep the process going here is we're going to add that balsamic vinegar. You need only, hey Steve Gary, nice to see you. You only need about a tablespoon, maybe a little more. We'll just put that in there. I'm going to bring the heat up a little bit. This is going to help caramelize the onions. Yes, you could use shallots, absolutely. If you want, K.E. gets a great question. You can use shallots. It's a little bit lighter flavor, obviously, than the onion. I just used a nice couple of yellow onions. And so we're going to let the balsamic just mix right in with our onions. I'm going to let the onions absorb that. Plus, we're going to add just a little bit of brown sugar. Not a lot, but we're just going to help add to the sugars that are coming out of the balsamic and the onion itself. Just encourage that natural caramelization process along. So we're going to stir in. Now we've got our balsamic and we've got our brown sugar. We're just going to stir that in. And I will tell you, this recipe comes to me by way of my wife. She did this as an appetizer a few weeks ago. And it was delicious and it was fantastic. And so I thought it was great for New Year's because, you know, a lot of times maybe you go out for dinner, but you come home and you want to have appetizers, or maybe you're just doing a party with some heavy appetizers. Obviously, we're all concerned about the Omicron variant and being out in crowds. So maybe you just want to have a smaller gathering at home. This is a great appetizer for that. I've got the onion. The oven preheated to 375. Hi, Terry. Nice to see you. And now we're going to, in this pan right over here, that you can barely see, we're going to do our button mushrooms, our sliced mushrooms. I got that heating up. I'm just going to pop in some butter. Love butter. I always use salted butter in virtually everything I cook because it's good. And I don't mind a little bit of extra salt. Then I add less as I'm cooking. So we're going to melt that butter. The onion caramelization takes a little bit longer, so I started those first, and they're coming along beautifully. When that's done, and I can turn the heat down on that and just let them continue. Hi, sweetheart. My wife is watching. So this is her recipe, and I haven't modified it very much. It's a great recipe. I think you guys will really enjoy it. Steve Gary says, yes, it is. It is ridiculously cold outside. It's crazy how cold it is. So that's why this is a great hot little appetizer that you can put out for family and friends. It's perfect by the fireside in this cold weather. So while my mushrooms are heating up, and I'm going to saute those just until they're soft, I'm going to break them up a little bit because we're going to be putting this on some little pieces of puff pastry. I've already cut those out. Hello, Kimberly. Nice to see you. Happy New Year. You're going to love this, dude. I'm telling you, when it's done, it's fantastic. It's got that little tang of the Gruyere cheese. It's got the soft sweetness of your caramelized onions, the earthiness, that umami you get out of the mushrooms, and, of course, that crunch of the puff pastry. Oh, Bill Simpson mentioned my apron. Got to tell the story. My buddy, Scott Vining, whom I grew up with in Charlottesville, he's been watching some of these. He's been suggesting recipes. I did one last week all about fish for Christmas Eve dinner. But he sent me this. Isn't this great? This is my Star Trek apron. And while we're showing off Christmas presents, I don't know if you guys can see this, but my buddy, film director Ron Oliver, sent me these. This is a USS Enterprise tumbler. He sent me the whole set, the decanter and 4 glasses. So I have to have 3 more of these. Works out beautifully. Thank you, Ron Oliver. And catch The Real Housewives of the North Pole on Peacock. That's his latest movie. Hello, Nick Leach. My buddy Nick Leach sent me a wonderful set of Star Trek Pez dispensers, which are not being opened. Hello, Karen Franconi. Anyway, we're caramelizing the onions. That's coming along. I've got my mushrooms up to temperature. The Black Manhattan is perfect. It's perfect for a cold night like this. I know, Ramonti, it's much colder where you are, but we're freezing in the desert here. All right. So I've got my mushrooms going here. And they're kind of big, so I'm going to break them up a little bit as they soften up, because we're going to be spooning these. We're going to mix these with the caramelized onions. We're going to mix the Gruyere cheese in with that mixture, and then we're going to spoon them onto our pastry puff squares, which I'm keeping chilled in the refrigerator. You want them nice and cold. Don't let them get up to room temperature. You thaw them out. It takes only about 20 or 30 minutes to thaw them. And then you cut them up into squares, and then they're ready to go. You put them back in the fridge on your cookie sheet, and they're ready to puff up and look beautiful. And it's amazing that not just the taste profile, the flavor profile of these little appetizers, but the crunch of the pastry and the presentation. It's so beautiful. Judy, you made the lasagna last week. Oh, that's great. Oh, I'm glad to see you enjoyed it. I love it when people make the recipes, and a lot of folks post pictures on my Facebook page. You can get most of the recipes I've uploaded to my YouTube page, In the Kitchen with Patrick Evans. Feel free to check that out. I don't know what happened to my it's here. Caramelizing. I'm going to mix all this together, so it's okay to swap utensils. But I've got you can see the butter's sauteing these mushrooms beautifully. I just want to break them up a little bit because I don't want them to be too big of chunks when I put them on our puff pastry. So I'm just going to break that up a little bit as they soften up. And then you'll see, we're going to combine all of that. One thing I want to do, sprinkle some herbs onto our caramelized onions. I've already salted and peppered these. I need to salt and pepper the mushrooms too. Just some Italian herbs I'm putting on here, but you can use thyme, you can use Herbes de Provence, which is a nice flavor as well. So we got that in there. That's perfect. I'm going to throw a little salt and pepper on our mushrooms. There we go. So we did a dinner for family here, but we saw family on Christmas Eve as well. And there was a little bit of a crossover, a little subset, but it was nice to, mix it up a little bit. We did, if you guys remember the recipe I did. Hi, Mary Furman, nice to see you. The pork with the port and pomegranate sauce. We did that for our Christmas dinner, and I think it turned out very nicely. Might have left it in 5 minutes too long. It might have been just a little on the dry side, but it was still tender. And I had a lot left over, so I turned it into chili verde. That was my project for after Christmas. All right, we've got our mushrooms going. I'm just going to let them saute down a little bit more. I want to take some of the liquid out of that. As I've done with the onions, obviously, I've gotten them. They're beautifully caramelized. We're going to stir all of this together, and we're going to mix it with our Gruyere cheese. And I want to do that while everything's still fairly warm, so that Gruyere begins to melt just a little bit. And then we're going to apply it to our puff pastry, and we're going to bake it. We've done it at 400. I'm going to turn the oven down just a little bit to 375. Our oven runs a little hot, so I've cut it back just a little bit. Cheers, everybody. I hope all of you had as enjoyable a Christmas as our family did. Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you. But now that we're heading toward the beginning of the new year, we're excited about that. Fresh start, 2022. And this is going to be a great way to ring in the new year. Good food, good friends, some cocktails. That's just what New Year's to me is all about. My parents used to have their biggest party of the year was on New Year's Eve. And it was just absolutely crazy. Hi, Christy. Nice to see you. And, you know, as we got to be teenage kids, my parents said, well, you can go over to your friend's house. But we all said, no, we want to stay with you guys. Because my parents were really a lot of fun. And especially, they enjoyed the holidays. I told my wife, I said, I never feel closer to my dad. Hi, Wendy Maxey from Roanoke. I never feel closer to my dad than when I'm decorating the Christmas tree. It was always kind of a special time for us in the family, and I feel that every year. And New Year's he loved a good party, and he loved his New Year's Eve parties. So, in that grand tradition, we're doing a little party here at the house, just very small, kids, us. Hi, Molly, nice to see you. Some very close friends. We're actually going to start the evening at Vicky's of Santa Fe. We're going to see John Stanley King. We're doing the early seating for that. Then we're coming back here to the house just to relax and enjoy the evening. You never know. There's always a chance for some surprises, a little music. Might break out the karaoke machine and really scare the kids. All right. We've got the mushrooms sauteed. The onions are caramelized. I'm ready to combine these two with our cheese. Let me take you back over here. I'm going to put everything out where we can see it. So, I'm going to put my Gruyere in the bottom of that dish. I know you guys can't see that. Here we go. So I'm going to just put a little bit of Gruyere. Not a lot. This is not a super heavy on the cheese dish. All right? I'm going to need that. Now, I'm going to take my mushrooms, which have been beautifully sauteed, and I'm just going to put them right in there with the cheese. Oh, yeah. Get a little of that butter. I'm trying not to put all of the butter in there, but, you know, some of it's going to go in. It'll be okay. It'll help to brown the tops of our puff pastry, which turn out beautiful and golden. When my wife first did this recipe, when Andrea did it, it was just so delicious. Everybody loved it. Mary Spencer, nice to see you. My friends in Charlottesville. All right, there are caramelized onions. Remember, in here, a little brown sugar, a little balsamic vinegar, butter, and it's just nothing, but you can just eat that with a spoon. It's like a condensed version of French onion soup. It smells fantastic. All right, there we go. We got all of our ingredients. I'm going to put a little more of our herbs in there like that. Now, what I want to do, and remember what I want to do here is, oh, Nick, you would love this. Of course, you wouldn't have a Black Manhattan. I'm sure that you would have a Lagavulin or some great Scotch, but that would be fine. All right, so what I'm doing is, while everything is still nice and hot, I am mixing it together so that our Gruyere melts into this mixture. All right, so I really want this to be a melange of all of those flavors, the mushrooms, the onions, the caramelized onions that are so tangy and delicious and sweet at the same time, and that great, just a little bite of Gruyere cheese. Look at this. This is already looking beautiful. All right, we got our oven up to 370. You can see the cheese is nice and melty, so this helps to combine everything and hold our little mixture together, because we're going to top our puff pastry with this. Oh yeah, that looks really good. I have to sample the Gruyere. Oh, that's very good. Hello, Pamela. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to get our puff pastry out. We're going to top this. Now I've got a little beaten egg. We're going to brush the puff pastry with our beaten egg just to give it a little sheen on the top. Mix that beaten egg up. Hold on. All right, here's our puff pastry. I cut it into irregular squares. Let's just say that. But it worked out. You want to just take the whole layer of puff pastry, lay it out, cut it out into squares, and now we're going to take our, let me bring you back down there. You can see it. Ramonte, you're going to love this dish. You were such a foodie, and Andrea came up with this one, and it's so good. So now we're going to just take our beaten egg and brush it across the top like so. Like that. Brush all of these. This, the puff pastry usually comes with a little bit of flour and all the way around, but the heavier side of the flour I put face down so that it doesn't stick to the sheet that I'm using. I'm using a non-stick, but you know, non-stick is a relative term. There's still always a little bit of something that gets left on the bottom of your non-stick cooking sheet. All right, so we're going to brush the puff pastry like this because it's going to give it a nice little sheen, and it will make the top layer a little crisp. All right, like that. And it puffs up beautifully. Wait until you guys see this. You're going to love this. It makes such a great presentation. And that was, you know, the eyes eat first. And it's always nice to have something that really showcases beautifully. All right, we got that. And I'm just going to poke a couple of holes in there. I'm using the fork that I stirred all my mixture with. I'm just going to poke some holes right in the middle of my puff pastry. Like that. Not a lot. You don't have to eviscerate it, just do that. You can, you know, this is so nice to be able to buy this puff pastry. And it comes out beautiful and flaky and crispy and buttery. It's really, really good. All right, now what we're gonna do, just get a little spoon here. Take our mixture, just like that. Plop it right on top. Now, this pastry is going to puff up 3 times this size. So I've got some rectangles and some squares going on here, and I'm going to separate that a little bit. Otherwise, it'll become one giant puff pastry. Like that. Don't put too much on each one. Just a little dollop. All right. And we've got all of the ingredients mixed in together. The cheese is melted nicely right into our mushroom and onion mixture. So these little guys over here. Again, I didn't do a great job of cutting these into very even pieces, but I'm not too worried about it. I don't mind irregular shapes. Not everything has to be cookie cutter perfect. Plus, more people believe it was homemade. So there we go. We got that. And I will be honest, I'm not a big fan of the mushroom. My wife will tell you that. This is absolutely delicious. So even if you're not a mushroom person, this is You're gonna love this. Just gonna get a couple of those that fell off. All right. These are ready to go in the oven. And remember to keep your puff pastry. You know, Steve, Trader Joe's has a great cheese selection. They have a lot. So keep your puff pastry cold. I cut up the puff pastry, I put it on my cookie sheet, and I put it back in the fridge so it would stay cool. That way it puffs up. If it gets too warm, it won't do its thing. All right, into the oven at 375. Here it goes. So now you're going to bake it until it's nice and golden brown on top. It says, the recipe says about 20 minutes. I think that's too much. You don't want to overcook this. I did my batch for about 15. Don't open the oven. Hey, John White. John White's having a good week off for Christmas. My buddy from News Channel 3. Well, you know, Ramontia, my friend, my wife's friend, who's become my friend, she says she loves mushrooms. All Lithuanians, there's a whole mythology about mushrooms. Aren't there mushroom people in the Lithuanian mythology? Anyway, but you also go and do a lot of mushroom hunting in Lithuania because they have lots of different varieties of edible mushrooms. Although I read something really funny. It said that all mushrooms are edible at least once. So you have to be very careful. Anyway, that's going to cook, and it's very important. Hey, Beatrice, hope you and your sister are doing well. Hi, Frank, good to see you. Don't open the oven for the first 10 minutes. Just let those puff pastries do their thing. They'll puff up. About 8 to 10 minutes in, they should be nice and puffed, and then you can turn the tray around. If your oven isn't, you know, like ours heats pretty evenly, but you might want to spin it around. That way you get everything done. And I'd pull it out after about 15 to 18 minutes, and I'm going to show you what they look like. Because today I was Johnny on the spot and did a batch first. How about that? Look at those, huh? Oh, yeah. All caramelized, the onions on top. Hello, Otis. Good to see you. Oh, boy. So, but the proof is always in the pudding. Oh, now you can see that. Hey, Bill Houck. Look at that. See how, and it just runs right across the top. Oh, all right, let's try it. I don't want to, remember, these are really crispy and crunchy. Oh. That is a little holiday goodness right there. Judy, this is delicious. We call them Gruyere mushroom and caramelized onion bites, Steve, and they're delicious. Happy New Year's, Bill Senso. Guys, try this. You're going to love it. You just bake them until they're crispy and brown on the top. With caramelized onion, so sweet, delicious. Ramontia, you're right. These are, of course, a vegetarian version, but my friend Ramontia said put a little slice of Fulvio's on there. I also thought about putting a little thin slice of prosciutto on top. My wife is texting me, so I must be in trouble. This is a fantastic recipe. You guys are going to love this. So I want you to try it out. Someone just asked for the recipe. When the video is uploaded, I will go in and add the recipe in so you can just save the video on Facebook. Hey, Casey, you need to try this. Casey is a cousin of my wife's, and he was with us for Christmas dinner. And yeah, you guys would love this. We're going to make this the next time we all get together. These are really incredible. This is a great recipe that my wife turned me on to, and it's fantastic. Oh, you guys are going to love that. And it paired beautifully with a Black Manhattan. I don't mind telling you. So, Casey, I know that you enjoy these. All right, guys. I'm going to eat that whole platter. It's fantastic. I'll post the recipe. It will also be on my Facebook page, Patrick Evans in the Kitchen. Oh, Judy, you're absolutely right. My wife is a keeper. Hello, Lisa. I see you're there too. I know Lisa and Beatrice are good friends and fans who often watch me on the news and on our cooking show, which is nice. Shirley, nice to see you. I want to wish you all a very happy new year, a very safe new year. And I wish for you all the things that you wish for in the coming year. I hope that 2022 it continues to be better to us than 2020 and 2021. I hope that we continue to see improvement in all facets of life. So here's to you guys. Thanks for tuning in the kitchen. I really appreciate it. It's so much fun to cook for folks who enjoy the food. So happy New Year. Bless you, and I will look forward to seeing you in the new year with more great family recipes from our house to your house. Cheers.